Good morning, dear students. Welcome to the class. Now today, before beginning the lesson, let's have a look at the thought for the day. And the thought for today is, forget all the reasons it won't work. Believe the one reason that it will. And what is the meaning of this thought? It's a lot of time you might have experienced it, that before beginning any work, you want to begin with the work, but you just think about both, maybe sometimes the positive as well as the negative aspects. But a normal human tendency, we think more about the negative aspects. What if I don't get succeeded in doing so? What will the people say about it? How will my friends react to it? And so on, many other things. But I want to tell you that all these things are secondary. Whether you'll get success or no. Just thinking about it, you won't get success or you won't get failed. But for either of this, you need to work for it. Right? And when you are working, why not work with a positive attitude? Isn't it? So, rather than thinking whether you will be succeeding or no and finding 100 such reasons to save yourself from doing that task, just find out one reason for doing that work. That why I should do this work. Because I want to do it. Right? Before thinking about others, think about yourself, what you want. And that would be the biggest reason for doing any work. If you really wish to do that thing, there will be no buts and ifs to it. So, first, before beginning any work, find out at least one reason for doing it and not those 100 reasons for not doing it. So, with this note, I hope you will try to implement this thought in your daily life as you people are big enough to decide for yourselves. I hope this thought will help you in your life. So let's see in today's class whether the narrator has got that one reason to get Ranga married. Right? That one thought to believe that yes, whatever he is thinking, he will be successful in doing so. So to continue with the chapter, we are on page number 19 of our snapshot book, Ranga's Marriage, and we'll be dealing with the second paragraph on this page. That afternoon, when I was resting, Ranga came to my house with a couple of oranges in his hand. A generous, considerate fellow. It would be a fine thing to have him marry, settle down and be of service to society, I thought. So now what happened? The narrator had come back to his house, and on that same afternoon, Ranga came to his house. He bought few oranges with him, and at this gesture, the narrator is very happy. And he feels that he is such a good boy. Such a nice boy he is, and he should get married. And narrator should try to get him married. And then what will happen if he settles down, everything is good, people will always remember him, the narrator, for getting Ranga married, for helping him in settling down in his life. Now this happens, even in our society also it happens. There are few people who are like always with some or the other proposal. If they see any person of marriageable age, then they just keep on telling them or showing them the prospects, one or the other. As if their only aim is to get that person married. So the narrator is of that quality, of that type. He has now taken, as if he has taken a vow that he would get Ranga married some or the other way. For a while, we talked about this and that. Then I came to the point, Rangappa, when do you plan to get married? So now he says, as Ranga had come to his place, he says, we were talking about lot many things we spoke about. And then finally I came to a point and I asked him a question. Rangappa, when do you think of getting married? I am not going to get married now, he said. So like any other person would reply that I am not going to get married, or I am not thinking of getting married at right now at this point. Why not? I need to find the right girl. I know an officer who got married only 6 months ago. He is about 30 and his wife is 25. I am told. So now when he says that I am not planning to get married, so the narrator asks him why, what is the reason? And then he says, I will be waiting for a right girl to get and then get married. And then he is inciting and then he is telling an example that he knows an officer, that is maybe in Bangalore, who is of 30 years of age and he had got married to a girl of 25 years old. He says, I don't know, this is what I was told by people around there. They will be able to talk lovingly to each other. Let's say I married a very young girl. She may take my words spoken in love as words spoken in anger. So he says, now this is a perfect match. A boy of 30 years and a girl of 25 years. They will at least be able to exchange their emotions. They'll understand each other. Right? So that is a perfect match. But suppose I get married to a very small girl, a very young girl. Then what will happen? There will be a thinking difference, understanding difference. And he says, if suppose I say something to her very nicely, lovingly, maybe she takes my words wrong. She interprets it wrongly. She may take my words spoken in love as words spoken in anger. Recently, a troupe in Bangalore staged a play, Shakuntala. So again he is giving one more example. Why he has built up that thought to marry a girl of a right age. There is no question of Dushyanta falling in love with Shakuntala if she were young like a present day brides, is there? So now many of you might be knowing the story of Shakuntala and Dushyanta. Dushyanta was a king, right? And he was out on a voyage or maybe hunting, and that's how he met Shakuntala. And then they got married. So what does he say? He says that if Shakuntala would have been a small little girl, do you think Dushyanta would have married her or fallen in love with her? There is no possibility of such thing. What would have happened to Kalidasa's play? If one gets married, it should be to a girl who is mature. Otherwise, one should remain a bachelor. That's why I am not marrying now. So he says, if this would have happened, that Shakuntala would have been a small little girl, then it would have not been possible for Kalidas to write his play, that is Shakuntala. This is a play written by Kalidas and it's a very famous play. Right? In not many universities, this is staged a lot of time. And then he says that this is the reason why I want to marry a girl. I want to wait till the time I don't get a girl of a right age. This also tells us maybe of the practice that in the village, people might have getting married to at a very early age. The girls might be getting married at a very early age. And that's why he is of this opinion after coming from Bangalore, that he doesn't want to get married so soon, that too to any small little girl. But he will be waiting for a girl of the right age. other reason? So the narrator very frankly he wants to talk, treating him like a friend, and then he says, is there any reason? Maybe in this question he wants to know if Ranga has somebody in his mind, or there is any other girl in Bangalore whom he wants to get married. A man should marry a girl he admires. What we have now are arranged marriages. How can one admire a girl with milk stains on one side of her face and wetness on the other? So young that she doesn't even know how to bite her fingers. So now he doesn't give accurate answer to the narrator's question, but he says that one should marry a girl he admires, he likes, he's in love with. And how can you admire a girl, how can you get attracted to a girl who's very small, right, who doesn't know anything, who doesn't understand anything, and he's giving an example that she's drinking milk and on one side of the mouth she has got all milk here and there, right? Her face is wet with milk, she's smelling of milk. So how can you marry such type of a girl? And the girl who's so small, you have seen small children, they don't actually know what is shying and all, right? They are speaking what they want to speak. But a mature person will really know how to behave in what situation. So that is the difference he is saying is between a mature girl and a young little immature girl. One a neem fruit, the other a bitter gourd. So he is saying, giving a proverb that if you get married to such person, such girl, it will be of no use, not going to be successful. Exactly, Ranga said, laughing. So when author says, the narrator says, okay, you mean to say that if such type of marriage, it would be one is like a neem and the other one is like a bitter gourd. That means both are bitter in taste. Okay, that means both are of same taste, so that won't work. And then that is what exactly Ranga says, and he starts laughing. I was distressed that the boy who I thought would make a good husband had decided to remain a bachelor. After chatting for a little longer, Ranga left. I made up my mind right then that I would get him married. So now what is happening? The narrator is continuously talking to Ranga. But in his mind there are thoughts. The thought process is going on. And then he says he's maybe upset. Oh, I thought that this boy could make a good husband. Looking at his behavior, the demeanor that he exhibits. But then this boy, he is thinking of staying a bachelor if he doesn't get a girl of right age. And then he feels that his plan, his thought will never be materialized. So what he says, that he made up his mind that he will get Ranga married. Rama Rao's niece, a pretty girl of 11, had come to stay with him. She was from a big town, so she knew how to play the veena and the harmonium. Now you remember this Rama Rao is the same person where he has given us the incident of using the English word in day-to-day talking about the change, the fireball. So his niece had come he says, and she was staying in a big town. And because she was staying in a big town, she had learned to play veena, that's a musical instrument with string, and harmonium also. That means she could sing, she could play musical instruments. She also had sweet voice, so she could even sing. Both her parents had died and her uncle had brought her home. Ranga was just the boy for her and she the most suitable bride for him. So just see, we are only thinking that this narrator only is thinking about getting Ranga married. But it is not only till here the things stop. He has already decided the girl also for him whom he would want Ranga to get married. And according to him, these both would perfectly suit each other. Since I was a frequent visitor to Rama Rao's place, the girl was quite free with me. I completely forgot forgot to mention her name. Ratna it was. The very next morning, I went to their house and told Ramarao's wife, I'll send some buttermilk for you. Ask Ratna to fetch it. So now you see, now here the narrator had started with his plan. He had started with his plan how he would make Ranga and Ratna meet. So he says in giving all the description about the girl, I just forgot to mention her name. Her name is Ratna. And then he goes to Ramarao's house and to his wife he says that I have buttermilk. I hope you all understand what is buttermilk. Right, charge. So just send Ratna so that she can bring it from my house. Ratna came. It was a Friday, so she was wearing a grand sari. I told her to sit in my room and requested her to sing a song. I sent for Ranga. While she was singing the song, Krishnamurti in front of my eyes, Ranga reached the door. So now, Ratna had come to take buttermilk and he says that because it was Friday, she was wearing a beautiful grand sari. That is, Friday is a very auspicious day. Lot of people pray to goddess. And that's the reason why she is wearing such a pretty sari. And then she comes, so Ranga tells her to sit in his room and sing a bhajan for him, sing a song for him. And then she sits and she starts singing the song. Meanwhile, what had the narrator done? The narrator had also sent a message for Ranga to come. And Ranga had also entered in the house. Ranga reached the door. He stopped at the threshold. He did not want the singing to stop, but was curious to see the singer. So as Ranga entered, he heard that beautiful melodious voice. So he stopped at the threshold, the entrance of the door. Right? Because he didn't want it to interrupt in the song. He didn't want it to disturb. But he really wanted to have a look at the face of the person who was singing so beautifully, so melodiously. Carefully, he peeked in. The light coming into my room was blocked. Ratna looked up and seeing a stranger there, abruptly stopped. So maybe he was trying to peep from here and there and have a look at the singer. So in doing so, the light was stopped and because of that, Ratna was distracted. And as she saw in that direction, she saw a stranger. Seeing a stranger, she suddenly stops singing. She becomes conscious. Suppose you buy the best quality mango. You eat it slowly, savoring its peel before biting into the juicy flesh. You do not want to waste any part of it because you took another bite. Before you take another bite, the fruit slips out of your hand and falls to the ground. How do you feel? Ranga's face showed the same disappointment when the singing stopped. So here the situation, how is the narrator describing the situation? The narrator says that suppose you bought mangoes, the mangoes which you really love. And sometimes it happens, if we love something to eat, it is not that we just devour it. We try to relish it. We try to eat slowly, enjoying every bit of it, isn't it? So here he is stating an example of mango. And he says how slowly you go on eating. You want to enjoy it. And in doing so, you wanted to enjoy that, and that's the reason why you were eating it slowly. But all of a sudden what happens, that mango falls down from your hand. How would you feel? What would be the expression on your face? So he says, those same expressions I could see on Ranga's face when the singing stopped. You sent for me? He asked as he came in and sat on a chair. So Ranga came inside now because the singing had stopped, so there was no point in standing out. He came inside, he sat on the chair and he said, "You called me?" Ratna stood at a distance, her head lowered. Ranga repeatedly glanced at her. So now Ranga could see Ratna, and while talking also, he repeatedly had a look over Ratna. Once our eyes met and he looked very embarrassed. No one spoke for a long while. So once what happened, doing so, the narrator says, he saw that I am also looking at him when he was looking at Ranga. So he felt very embarrassed. He was shy. And then nobody spoke for a longer time because that maybe was an awkward situation for them to speak in front of narrator or with the narrator. It was my coming in that stopped the singing. Let me leave. So then he says, okay, now let me go. Because of me, the singing was interrupted. It was disturbed. So I will leave. That you can continue with your song. Words, mere words. The fellow said he would leave but did not make a move. How can you expect words to match actions in these days of Kali? So see, the narrator is a very keen observer and is a good person in understanding the psychology. Looking at the face, he could understand what is the person wanting to do or what he is thinking of. So he says, though Ranga said that he would leave, but he did not make any efforts to stand up and leave that place. He was only saying, it were mere words, only words. And then he is trying to relate with the present thing, that in this Kali Yuga, you cannot expect a person's action and words to match. This is what happens. Sometimes we come across people who speak something else but who do not act according to their words. Their actions are different from their words. Ratna ran inside, overcome by shyness. So now Ratna also felt very shy and then she ran away from there. After a while, Ranga asked, "Who's that girl, Swami?" So now what is the name of the narrator? It is Swami. They call him Swami. And then he is asking about the girl. He is inquiring about the girl. Who's that inside? The lion wanted to know. The he-goat who had taken shelter in the temple replied. So again he is using imageries, right? In place of Ranga, in place of Ratna, he is again using the imageries of lion and the goat. And he says that the lion wanted to know who is the goat, who is this girl, who is inside. Does it matter who I am? I am a poor animal who has already eaten 9 lions. I have vowed to eat one more. Tell me, are you male or female? The lion fled the place in fear, it seems. So now, narrator could clearly make out that in the very first sight, Ranga was attracted towards the girl. Right? He was attracted towards the girl, and then even maybe the girl also liked the boy. So that was what? That is why she felt shy and she ran away. So here he says, what difference does it make? Whether the lion wants to know who's inside or the goat from inside says that I am a goat and I have eaten 9 lions. So this is just an imagery that he is using to showcase the situation right at that time. Like the he-goat, I said, what does it matter to either of us? Who is she? So he says, I answered simply, what difference does it make? What have we or you to do? Who is she? Leave that topic. So the narrator is trying to avoid giving answer in order to increase Ranga's curiosity about the girl. When we want to know something, not so desperately, but if that's something nobody is telling us about, then we really want to know it. We are desperate. We very badly want to know about that thing now. Earlier, maybe casually, But now when we come to know that people are avoiding it, people are not answering, so then you really want to know why. What is that? So same thing is happening. I am already married and you aren't the married kind. This is why we have to talk about that girl. See, I am married. I don't have any interest. I don't want to know who's that girl. And you are unmarried, but you are not thinking of getting married. You don't want to get married. So what is the point in knowing about that girl? So that's all for today. We stop here with the class. Until we meet in the next video, keep learning, keep experiencing, and keep thinking about the one reason that how the narrator would get Ratna and Ranga married. Bye-bye.